How do I explain this? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy if you're new here. Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy this video and give it a massive thumbs up. These are personality traits. I want to just highlight that I'm mentioning personality traits. I'm not mentioning things like if you have a specific medical condition or whatever, because I have spoken about that in a previous video. I feel that it is important to know that if you are this type of person, then I don't think that being a flight attendant is for you. I'm trying to do this more in a way that's like to protect you, to kind of keep you from wasting your money by doing your flight attendant course and, you know, putting in that effort and wasting your own time and stuff like that. So if certain things apply to you, then probably be a reason for you to probably not become a flight attendant. The first reason you probably shouldn't become a flight attendant is if you don't know what being a flight attendant entails. I have met so many people who just have no idea what it is we even do. But funny enough, they're already flight attendants, so I don't really know how that works. But I'll be working with someone and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous, like why do I even need to know how a fire extinguisher works? Okay, please just do your research, and after doing your research, if you still feel like being a flight attendant will work for you and will match you, then by all means go for it. But if you're put off by just the smallest things and you don't even know what it is we do, then it's probably not for you. Reason number two you want to avoid becoming a flight attendant is if you are not a people person. Which I feel like is pretty self-explanatory. As flight attendants, we work with people all day. You work with other crew, you work with people you've never met before, and you just are supposed to work seamlessly. In general, you are surrounded by people all day long, basically is what I'm trying to say. So if you don't know how to handle people and customer service in general, you don't really know what the point of it is, you don't really care what the point of it is, then being a flight attendant is probably not for you. You also probably shouldn't become a flight attendant if you have never been and still are not a very punctual person. Timeliness and being on time for sign-on is probably one of the most important parts of being a flight attendant in the day-to-day life. So if you are always late, you're always 15 minutes behind, you're always calling in and saying, I'm almost there, I'm just around the corner, then this probably isn't for you. If you maybe can get around that and you can start leaving the house earlier, waking up earlier, then sure, go ahead and try that. You probably shouldn't become a flight attendant if you're lazy. I generally have very lazy days when I'm off or just before a flight or when I come home from a flight. But when you are on that plane and it is time to do your job, you need to be the type of person that can just put their head down and do their job. I'm sure you've heard about how dirty planes are in general, so if you're a germaphobe, you probably don't want to become a flight attendant. Or it grosses you out to open the toilet door and see, you know, a whole scene in there, then it's probably not for you to become a flight attendant. Becoming a flight attendant is probably not for you if you are very, very passionate about something else. And I say this because I feel as though if you have a specific passion, you should be putting your all into it every single day. And being a flight attendant at the same time will just completely knock that up, because being a flight attendant, you are always on call, you always need to be ready to just get up and go. You are so tired at the end of the day that you literally do not have energy for anything else. So if you are passionate about something else and you're trying to work towards something else, I can tell you that it will be very, very tough to get to that. That is why a lot of people maybe use being a flight attendant as a stepping stone just to fund their studies until they get their degree, until they finish their, I don't know, some type of course, or until they have enough capital to start their own business, and then they move on from that. But you can't be a flight attendant forever if you are passionate, if you are very, very passionate about something else. I kind of just touched on this, but I don't think that it's suitable for you to become a flight attendant if you get grossed out easily. But for this specifically, it's more about body fluids. So if you get grossed out easily when someone else throws up, or if you see some blood, if you get grossed out by stuff like that, then I'm sorry, you probably shouldn't become a flight attendant, because that kind of stuff will happen. It will happen often. It will happen when you least expect it. It will happen when you definitely don't want it to happen. I mean, not that there's a time that you ever would want it to happen, but in general, you know, sometimes are better than others. And I just think if you are the type of person who actually just like really can't handle that, and just the smell of someone else's vomit makes you, you know, start gagging and stuff like that, then you probably want to avoid becoming a flight attendant, honestly, because yeah. Being a flight attendant is probably not for you if you are super shy and not the greatest communicator. Okay, this point I think you can grow out of, and I find that this is usually a problem with people who are right out of matric who become flight attendants. This is something that a lot of them generally really have to work on, because a lot of them don't really know how to assert themselves yet. They don't know how to handle a lot of stressful situations yet. Communication is key. This is where I would encourage you to first get some life experience. This is why I'm always telling you guys to get some customer service experience first before becoming a flight attendant, because that kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of what this whole customer service sort of business is like. And not only do you constantly have to be explaining to angry passengers what's going on, you need to stand in front of a bunch of them and give an overwing briefing. You need to stand in front of the entire plane and do the demo. So yeah, again, if you're struggling with being shy and you're struggling with your communication and your confidence in your communication, then you probably should take some time before you consider being a flight attendant. You probably should not become a flight attendant if you don't care that much about your appearance or your personal hygiene. Personal hygiene, I think, is self-explanatory. You don't want to be smelling bad when you are leaning over passengers to give them their coffee or to open their window blind or to help them with their baby, something like that. You don't want to like smell bad when you do that, you know. You don't want people to be embarrassed and have to tell you like, hey, you should probably have a mint, you know. You don't want to get to that point. But also just in general with appearance, like you guys know, when I have an off day and I'm just being lazy, I could not care any less with how I look. When I'm going to work, I look human. I look somewhat human, I think. But when I'm at home, no, it's not gonna happen. But you need to be the type of person who actually does care about that kind of stuff, you know, because you want to also make sure that the airline is proud to have you as part of their crew. You want to make sure that the crew are proud to be seen next to you, you know, walking through the airport next to you. You want to make sure that you yourself feel proud when people say, hey, there's an SAA flight attendant, there is a Comair flight attendant, she looks so pretty. You know, you want to inspire people. Appearance is a big thing, and if you're just the type of person who really doesn't care, you don't even care enough to iron your shirt before work, you don't care enough to make sure your shoes are clean, that kind of stuff, then it's probably not for you. With saying that, I also think being a flight attendant is not for you if you care too much about your appearance. And with that, I mean if you care too much about being unique in your appearance. Remember that airlines want us to kind of conform basically to like an airline standard of what we should look like. Of course, here and there you can look like yourself. I mean, not everyone looks like me when we fly or anything like that, but I mean, if it's so difficult for you to not have bright blue nails or bright purple nails with giant diamonds on them, then I'm sorry, you're not going to win that battle. If you're the type of person that cares too much about having your own unique appearance, then you will probably struggle, because in the airline industry, we all, to a certain degree, have to look somewhat similar. We have to look made up and clean and pretty and put together and fresh. And if you are the type of person who wants a face tattoo instead, then it's probably just not for you. You probably should avoid being a flight attendant if you thrive on stability and routine and knowing exactly what you're gonna do tomorrow and for the next month, and for the foreseeable future, you know, because being a flight attendant, all that just comes crashing down. So yeah, if you're the type of person that has to absolutely wake up every single day at the exact same time and do certain things at the exact same time throughout the day, it's probably not for you, because being a flight attendant, I mean, generally you don't even remember when last you ate. Okay, the next two I'm going to mention aren't necessarily personality traits. They are things that I just know I haven't mentioned before. So if you struggle a lot with motion sickness and getting motion sick very easily, like if you can't even handle going on a roller coaster, or like a decent roller coaster, you know, not one of the hectic ones. It's funny, I've actually met a lot of flight attendants who are afraid of heights, but they are perfectly fine as a flight attendant. But people with motion sickness, you will struggle a lot, because sometimes you are walking up and down that aisle during descent and it's just, you keep hitting those air pockets, and you know, when your stomach just like, it just keeps knotting and just doing this thing. Oh, horrible. But in terms of just general light turbulence, where it's still safe for us to walk around, we will continue to walk around and continue to provide a service. But it's uncomfortable for us, you know, like, and you can feel it in your belly, you can feel it, like, it's just, it's not a nice feeling. And if you're the type of person who would get very motion sick from that, then being a flight attendant probably isn't for you. Also, you might struggle being a flight attendant if you have a weak immune system. As I've mentioned, an airplane can have quite a few germs on it, but not only that, just the air in the airplane, it kind of just circulates and it stays there. It does get filtered out here and there, but in general it's just circulating within that same metal tube. And if 4 passengers have flu and you're on that same flight for 2 hours, we're gonna land and you're gonna start getting the sniffles. So if you're the type of person who gets sick easily in terms of like flu and the cold and stuff like that, then you might struggle being a flight attendant, just because you will pretty much always be exposed to those germs. Also, not only that, but just with your roster and with your airline and your employer, you don't want to always be calling out sick, you know, so you will struggle with that, because it can get to a point where you end up with a warning because you call out sick so often. Even if you genuinely do get sick that much, it ends up putting your job on the line because you have to be calling off so often. So I would suggest, if you know you aren't, like, you don't have the strongest immune system, then maybe start taking some vitamins, some immune boosters, and make sure to continue to take them even when you start flying. Number 15. I've already done 15 of these. Okay, you probably don't want to become a flight attendant if you don't like confrontation. Oh, confrontation. That is just so much fun. Confrontation it's not the best, but unfortunately, if the flight is delayed, if the passengers are upset about something, if ground hasn't communicated with passengers well, then passengers will probably be screaming at you and shouting and confronting you about certain things at your job, and you can't escape, you can't leave the building because you're on an airplane at 37,000 feet, so good luck with that. If you aren't the type of person that's comfortable with confrontation at all, then you're gonna really struggle with this. Not only with passengers, but even with your fellow crew members. If you've done something wrong during the service, or you handle a situation with a passenger wrong, then you know your senior is gonna have to confront you about that. And I mean, they shouldn't be like coming up to you and like attacking you about it, but at the end of the day, it is still, they will question you about it and they will reprimand you if they must, you know. And you need to be able to stand up for yourself. Don't lie about anything, don't point fingers at other people if you know it is actually your fault. Be the type of person who can stick up for themselves, but at the same time know when to say, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. But yeah, just in general, if you're just not good with confrontation at all and being told that you did something wrong, then you will probably struggle with being a flight attendant. Okay, last but not least, if you don't like following a lot of rules, then being a flight attendant is probably not for you. So if you are the type of person that just wants to be on their own level, feeling their own vibes, you know, doing their own thing, then you just won't be a very successful flight attendant. Unfortunately, you are constantly following so many rules. Rules for your manual, rules from the government, rules from your airline, rules from the CAA, like, you know, all these flight rules, all these customs rules, and all these things. There are just so many rules that we have to follow, and we have to remember, like, oh wow, yo, we can't have that. Like, and it's funny because little things, like you'll be walking down the aisle, securing the aisle, and then you remember, oh man, that guy has his shoes off and he's sitting at the overwing exit. We can't have that. We have to follow that rule and tell him to put his shoes back on because he's sitting at the overwing exit. And passengers will find that absolutely ridiculous, but we know this is an emergency exit. You can't have loose items here. Like, you know, and again, you're just doing your job. You are just following the rules, but there are so many rules to remember, and there are so many rules to abide by. And if you're the type of person who is just not a rule follower, you like doing your own thing, you are really going to struggle being a flight attendant, because the thing is, if you've agreed to become a flight attendant and work for a particular airline, you've agreed to follow all of their rules. So you can't turn around now and say, no, I don't want to do that because I just don't like it. No, you have agreed that you will follow specific rules. But if you just aren't the type of person that likes doing that, if you aren't the type of person that likes being told what to do, then being a flight attendant just isn't for you. Okay guys, so that's it for me. Please consider these things before you try to become a flight attendant. Just remember, it's just a guideline, you know, a lot of these things you can work around, you know, so don't let it necessarily discourage you. Try to work on it, and if you are really passionate about this, then keep going, go for it. One day you'll definitely reach that dream. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to spread good vibes and be kind, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'll see you all on the next one. Bye bye.